Welcome to today's episode. I'm Herman, and with me is Tanja. Together we're going to talk about a painful but important topic, the disappearance of parenthood when narcissism and parental alienation come into play.
Yes, this is a subject that touches a lot of families deeply. We often hear from people who feel as though one of the parents has been erased from their child's life, sometimes gradually, sometimes very suddenly.
And when narcissism is involved, the situation becomes even more complex. The narcissistic parent may manipulate, distort reality, and use the child as a pawn in their conflict. The result? The child grows distant from the other parent, often the healthier one, until that bond is severely damaged or completely broken.
Exactly. And what makes it so devastating is that the alienated parent is left powerless. They want nothing more than to love and care for their child, but instead, they're pushed aside through manipulation, lies, or subtle forms of control.
In this podcast, we want to shine a light on how this process unfolds, what it does to both parents and children, and, most importantly, what steps you can take if you're caught in the middle of it. Let's take a closer look at how parental alienation usually starts. Often it begins with subtle remarks. The narcissistic parent might make little comments that cast doubt on the other parent. Things like, "Oh, your mom doesn't really understand you," or, "Your dad is too busy for you." At first, it seems harmless, but over time these remarks sink in.
Yes, and slowly but surely, the child begins to question the love and reliability of the alienated parent. The narcissistic parent carefully builds a story where they are the safe, caring one, while the other parent is portrayed as unreliable or even dangerous.
And the child, who is completely dependent on their caregivers, adapts. To survive emotionally, they may start siding with the narcissistic parent, even rejecting the other parent, sometimes without even knowing why.
What's really tragic is that the child's natural bond with the healthy parent gets distorted. The child is caught in loyalty conflicts, pressured to choose, and feels unsafe showing love to both parents. That's why we call it the disappearance of parenthood, because one parent is erased from the child's life as if they never existed.
And that loss doesn't just hurt the parent. It has long-term consequences for the child as well, because they grow up missing out on a loving connection that should have been their right. So, what happens once the alienation has taken hold? For the alienated parent, it feels like living grief. Your child is still alive, but the bond you once had is torn away. You're treated like a stranger, or worse, like the enemy. Many parents describe this as one of the most painful experiences imaginable.
And for the child, the impact is just as devastating, though it might not be visible right away. Growing up without the freedom to love both parents creates deep inner conflict. They're forced to suppress their own feelings and adopt the narrative of the narcissistic parent. That means denying part of their own identity, because a child is half of both parents.
Exactly. And later in life, these children may struggle with trust, intimacy, and self-esteem. They can carry feelings of guilt, shame, or confusion, because deep down they sense something was taken from them.
This is why we say parental alienation is not only emotional abuse of the parent but also of the child. It robs the child of a safe, balanced upbringing and leaves scars that can last into adulthood.
The question is, can this ever be repaired? The honest answer is, it's very difficult, but not impossible. Healing starts with acknowledging the pain and the injustice, both for yourself as the alienated parent and, eventually, for the child.
Yes, and it's so important not to give up hope, even though the situation may feel hopeless at times. Children often need distance and time before they can see through the manipulation. What helps is that you, as the alienated parent, remain consistent. Keep showing that your love is unconditional, even if contact is minimal or broken off.
And at the same time, take care of yourself. This kind of loss can consume you if you don't consciously make space for your own healing. That might mean therapy, support groups, or simply having people around you who understand and validate your experience.
For the child, recovery becomes possible when they feel safe enough to question the narrative of the narcissistic parent. That often takes time and sometimes professional help. But we've seen cases where children later reconnect with the alienated parent, once they realize the truth.
So while the road is painful and uncertain, there is always the possibility of restoration. Staying true to yourself, not becoming bitter, and keeping the door open for your child, those are the keys.
And remember, healing is not only about the relationship with your child, but also about reclaiming your own life and peace. You are more than what the narcissist tried to take from you.
So while the road is painful and uncertain, there is always the possibility of healing and reconnection. It may not happen overnight, and sometimes not in the way you hope, but keeping the door open can make all the difference.
Exactly. And even if your child doesn't return right away, your own journey of healing matters just as much. By reclaiming your peace, your confidence, and your strength, you are breaking free from the destructive cycle the narcissist tried to impose.
We hope this episode has given you insight, encouragement, and maybe even a sense of recognition. If you're going through this right now, know that you are not alone. There is support, and there are ways to move forward.
Thank you for listening to this conversation. If this topic spoke to you, share the podcast with someone who might also need it. And remember, you deserve a life of love, peace, and freedom.
Until next time. Take care of yourself, and never lose sight of your own worth.